So Christmas is nearly here, and everyone calls it the silly season. And as someone who works in retail, I can tell you it's definitely justified with how crazy everyone gets. Yet, in the last 5 years, I've never seen anyone quite like James Hooper. The bloke is the gift that keeps on giving. Kind of like the explosive diarrhea after eating KFC Wicked Wings. I'm Old Panther, and this is Rugby League news by fans, for fans. I've been away for a while. Our baby is due in less than a week, and my grandfather also just passed away, so things have been a bit distracted. Football in the community is kind of my happy place though, so with November 1st coming up, I thought it'd be nice to check out the discussion. It's fun to discuss the rumours, see who ends up at what clubs and all that, but really what's dominated discussion this time around is one guy throwing shit everywhere and hoping something eventually sticks. Now don't get me wrong, all the journalists who cover the game do this to an extent. Some rumours turn out to be true, and sometimes it's complete nonsense. Whatever, it's usually got some sense of balance to it. Not with our mate Scoop though. Go back to when the Titans were looking for a coach. He sat on NRL 360 and said it was his gut feeling that they'd offer Kevy the job, and long story short, it was all the Titans' fault that the media started rumours about them. I did a video on it at the time. I'll put a link to it in a comment. Go see how ridiculous this stuff gets. So back to the present, and all the news is about Latrell Mitchell, who has 1 year left on his contract with the Roosters. It makes sense that a high-profile player who can now negotiate his next deal is going to bring a lot of attention. That isn't an issue at all. I'm really interested to see what happens with it actually. After all, he's the kind of player who would improve any roster if he shows up fit with a good attitude. And on his day, he's probably the best centre in the game. So mass headlines makes perfect sense. What doesn't sit right from a fan's perspective is multiple articles with no confirmation of facts at all. My personal favourite is this one published on November 6th, linking Mitchell with the Tigers. Everything about it is complete speculation, with the headline even being half question, half insinuation that the Tigers are making him offers, or at least going to. Fair enough, if you want to speculate on whether he'd be a good fit for their roster both on field and from a cap management point of view, that'd be an interesting hypothetical that we could seriously get into. But he goes beyond that to say, and I quote, the Tigers are positioning to have a crack at the Kangaroo Centre, and that while the Bulldogs have been discussing making a play at Mitchell for 6 months, the Tigers have emerged as a left field contender. Great, I'm sure he'll go on to explain he has a source at the club which leaked all the secrets to him, or some such line which usually goes with these types of articles, but that'd be a big, fat no. All he says is that the club has some cap space, and that they could make him an offer of $3.3 million over 3 seasons, and that Adam Hartigan, who is the Tigers' general manager of football, previously worked for the Roosters. Basically, all he's done with this article is match an off-contract player with a club who has cap space, and he's hoping we'll all take it as fact due to some subtle wordplay. What ends up happening is people gloss over the article and start throwing stones over social media at the club or player because they see him as arrogant or selfish asking for so much money, or the club is wasting money, and the people writing the article sit back, collect their pay, move on to the next article. At least in his next story later the same day about the Bulldogs' apparent interest in Mitchell, he says there was a meeting between player and club, yet admits there isn't much room in the roster, since they've recently re-signed Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and not mentioned in the story is that they also just gave Lachlan Lewis an extension, so they aren't exactly rolling in cap space. On top of that, 2 weeks ago, he had the Dogs making a big money play for the Turbo brothers and David Fafita, worth $14 million. Now, I've never been part of the media in any capacity. I didn't even know how to make a video before I started doing this a few months ago, but from my humble perspective as a fan, it looks like the Dogs have just become an easy target for journalists, writing signing rumours after they've sorted out a few bad years with their salary cap issues. His most recent article is where I really drew the line though. It's just a weak attempt to profit off Mitchell's name and have people judge the bloke negatively. It's an article about a sports star driving an expensive car. That's it. Throughout the article, there's language used to show what the thoughts and motivations of the Roosters club are, saying things like, Roosters insiders first started having concerns, and the Roosters took note. Well, did they? Is this fact or colourful language meant to elicit a response from football fans because we're all emotionally invested and people are drawn to drama? I'm going with the latter, since the article goes on to ask, was Mitchell beginning to listen to too many people around him? Were his values changing? Was he getting swept up in the fast lane of big city life? It just reads like an attempt to swing public opinion against Mitchell and have people question his character because it makes for a good story. At this point, I'm wondering if he's really the Fox Sports chief league reporter, or if he's working for a gossip magazine. On top of that, he's really not in a position to throw stones about a player's integrity involving cars when, according to an article published in the Sydney Morning Herald on September 29th, 2018, it was reported that, and I quote, Fox Sports chief league reporter James Hooper will appear in Downing Centre Court on October 4 on charges relating to destroying and damaging property. It was a result of a big night gone wrong. He is accused of damaging a car and was found in a bad way on the car bonnet by the owner. I wonder how he'd feel if this got endless media attention, with his character being called into question and his possible earning potential being affected. Or what if he got reprimanded for bringing the game into disrepute, like the Dogs players who hired a private room, hurt no one, didn't damage property, but had journos spying on them to create even more drama. Now, I'm not really a fan of the drama approach and going off at individuals, but sometimes it's needed, and I'm really getting sick of seeing fans and players being manipulated for clicks on articles, and Hooper seems to be on the extreme end of the scale with this tactic. So from now on, when you see an article without direct quotes from players or club officials, your first thought should be, and that these people do this as a way to make money, first and foremost, and they aren't your friends or the one true voice of the fans that they paint themselves out to be. Now don't get me wrong, there's some reasonable journos out there on social media, if you can find them. For example, I don't actually mind Brent Reed on Twitter. Anyway guys, thanks for listening to my rant. If you enjoy my stuff, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and share the video around. Share your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.